So this video is going to be a little bit of me talking off the top of my head. What I want to do is really just tell you some stuff, okay? This is just me, Brenda, talking to you as though you were sitting here with me in my kitchen. I've been studying the book of Revelation like in earnest, like doing it like a job, like an 8-hour-a-day thing, only it occupies my mind all the time, even when I'm sleeping. I've been doing this since 2017. I have been studying end time stuff though since the 70s, since like the early 70s, okay? Because I'm an old person. And I've always been interested in the end times, okay? So I've looked at your typical pre-tribulation position. I've looked at pre-wrath. I've looked at post-trib. I've looked at mid-trib. I've looked at all kinds of theories about how the end is going to play out. In the end, what I've discovered is that what a lot of mainline denominations and pastors teach of the people who actually talk about the end times, they tend to be pre-tribulation rapture people. And out of all of these people, I was like, you know what? I don't know that a lot of what they teach is actually scriptural. So I decided that I would fact check what a lot of these, people were saying and teaching and so on. And so I've talked about this in a lot of my videos. And I love these people. I used to be one of them. I understand and could teach and have taught the whole pre-tribulation 7-year wrath of God doctrine, okay? So there's nothing you can tell me about that I haven't already heard or don't already know. I was in a Calvary Chapel for years and years. Okay, so this is all part of the deal. But what I found was that when, I started looking underneath the surface and looking at what I call the elephant in the room, which is the book of Revelation, which even when people say they're teaching through it, they don't really teach through it. They skim across the surface. They tell you what it's saying, but they don't tell you what it's saying. Because Revelation is written not as one long vision, but it's a series of small visions that are all interrelated. And I've talked about this in numerous other videos and in my book, that it's more like the movie Vantage Point, which, thank you, whatever subscriber suggested that movie to me. It's where we're looking at a period of time, a sequence of events that are taking place, but we're looking at it from all kinds of different viewpoints. The book of Revelation is primarily encompasses a period of time between when believers are raptured, basically, okay, and I do believe that people will be taken into heaven before any seals, trumpets, or anything like that. But what most people think of as the seals and trumpets lasting 7 years, and that's all the wrath of God, the actual seals and trumpets overlay one another, and seals 1 through 5 take place along with trumpets 1 through 6 over the course of very few months, like maybe 8 months. So between the rapture and the time of the abomination of desolation, which is also the same time that Mystery Babylon is destroyed at the 6th trumpet, second woe, when the 2 witnesses ascend into heaven, there's only going to be about 8 months. And people go, well, how can you know that? Well, I started looking at the timing clues that are given to us in Revelation. We're given all kinds of day counts. 3.5 days, the 2 witnesses lie dead, 42 months, the beast reigns, 1,260 days that the woman is in the wilderness. We also have 5 months or 150 days that the beings that come out of the pit can sting people. We've got a beast who ascends from the bottomless pit. We know that happens before the mark of the beast begins, which is before the 42-month reign of the beast. There's all these timing indicators. And so it's like this big, gigantic whodunit to locate these timing indicators and put them on a timeline. And a lot of people will say, well, you don't need to do that. Well, actually, yes, you do. God put all those timing indicators in the book of Revelation, he meant for us to search it out so that we could know what's going to happen. That's the whole point of the book of Revelation, so that God's servants would know what was going to happen, and that when it started, it would happen really, really fast. And it'd be happening too fast for people to be able to take an analytical look at the book of Revelation and figure it out. It's taken me like 4 years of, this is my job. I have, I'm sure, the equivalent of a doctorate in this, that, from my vantage point. You may not think so. You may totally disagree with me on so many things, but I'm not just talking off the top of my head. There are reasons why I think the way I think, and there's scriptural reasons. I back it all up in my timeline templates, the PDF, which is free. The link is in the description box. My book is free. It's been translated into a number of languages. The link for that is in the description box. The Kindle version is free, okay, and the paperback is as low a price as I could possibly make it, and you can get it on Amazon. Here's the thing. What we've been taught isn't consistent with the book of Revelation. And I'm going to give you a case in point. And people aren't going to like this. And just bear with me for a moment, okay? A lot of people have been taught that Jesus is coming for the church, which is his bride. And there will be a bride. Okay, there will be a bride. But he's not coming for the bride. He's coming for the son, for the child. Okay, he's coming for his firstborn, for kings and priests. He's coming for people who, once they get into heaven, if you read the book of Revelation, once believers are in heaven as represented by the 24 elders, I don't see a marriage supper. Frankly, I don't see a marriage supper. What I see are heavenly priests who are praying for the saints who are on earth. That's our job as priests. We're going to be kings and priests. The 24 elders take off their crowns in heaven because they're not kings in heaven. They only rule on the earth, but they are priests in heaven. And what do? They immediately begin to worship and to intercede for people on the earth. Jesus is working the whole time. He's not on a break. He doesn't have a 7-year time when he's not doing anything. He's opening seals, okay, one right after another. He is busy. He is doing stuff, okay? And when we read the book of Revelation, whenever you see the mighty angel with a face like the sun, or an angel who's coming from the east with the seal, the signet ring of God in his hand, or the glorious angel who declares Babylon is fallen, this is Jesus, okay? This is Jesus who is making these appearances as God's messenger on the earth, as the angel of the Lord, the Old Testament symbol of the second person of the Trinity. He is coming and going. I don't see anybody relaxing in heaven. Look at Revelation chapter 12. There's martyrs already present in heaven when Satan is cast out. These are the martyrs who died during that 10-day purge when the harlot, who's drunk with the blood of the saints, is killing believers, saints. There's a 10-day purge of Christians that is ahead of us here. Now, if you're saved, you're following Jesus, you're serving him to the best of your ability, you're going to be gone. You're not going to be here when that purge happens, but there are going to be a lot of people who are here. That's that great multitude that we see standing in Revelation 7 with palm branches and wearing white robes. They've made them white in the blood of the Lamb. This is not a salvation message. This is how they died. They were martyrs for Jesus. And we see this same group of people in Revelation 12, along with some more people who say, after Satan is cast out of heaven, rejoice, be happy, heaven, and everyone who dwells in heaven. For the accuser of our brethren has been cast down, who accuses them before our God day and night. So the 24 elders have been there before the throne of God. Satan has been there accusing the brethren. We've got all these martyrs there, and they're all watching, okay? All these believers are watching as Satan is cast out of heaven. So there's going to be a period of time when we're in heaven and Satan is in heaven too, and Satan's angels are in heaven. Okay, this is not a party. Okay, this is not a wedding supper. This is not it. In fact, the bride is not ready until Revelation 19. Okay, so this is just an example of, if you look at the book of Revelation and you lay it against popular end time teaching about Jesus coming for a bride and then having a 7-year party while there's a tribulation, that, wrath that's playing out on the earth below, they're not the same story. Okay, this is not the same story. And I think this is one of the ways that Satan has infiltrated the church and believers into thinking that that's what's going to happen, ignoring what the Word of God clearly, plainly, though via symbols, is telling us. Believers are not going to be having a marriage supper. That is not until way later, okay? Not until later. The bride is comprised of all the people who are Christians now, who will come to Christ after we're gone, including those who are martyred by the beast. They're raised from the dead, and they are going to rule and reign with Christ as well. They're part of the bride. Anybody you see in heaven in Revelation is a part of the bride. So the bride isn't ready until everybody has come in, till all the parts are there. I've done some videos on who is the bride. The prototype bride. Okay, when you want to study something, you go back to the first mention. And in this case, the first bride is Eve, the woman. When God made man, he formed him, it says, from the dust of the ground. It was like clay. It's a potter's term. He formed him. But when it came time to make the woman, he didn't take some more clay and just, put together a woman like the man. No, the man went to sleep. And I think it was voluntary. I think he voluntarily said, I'm going to go to sleep, which is a picture of death. And God opened up his side and took a part of Adam and then formed the woman. But the word isn't actually formed. The word is built. He constructed. He made the woman. It's a construction term. It's a term that's used when you talk about building cities or building houses. And so what we've got here is a bride who is being built. Christ said that he would build his church. We know that the church is built on the foundation of the apostles and the prophets. That every group of people who arrives in heaven, the 24 elders, the 144,000, the fifth seal martyrs, the overcomers in Revelation chapter 15, those who are beheaded by the beast. All of these people are a part of the bride. And it's not until every single one of these people has been resurrected or raptured, are in their glorified body, that the bride is now ready. Okay, that's when the bride is ready. It's at the end. Okay, she doesn't show up. We don't hear about it until Revelation 19. So that whole idea of a bride and a party, a wedding supper, is wrong. It's not in the book of Revelation. There is bridal language, in the Gospels and other places where Jesus is going to come. Paul talks about, the church is the bride of Christ. But that bridal imagery isn't the imagery that Revelation is using. And Revelation is using different imagery to tell a story about how we're going to be doing things, in heaven. And Jesus is going to be doing things. And not all believers are present to be built into the bride until the end. So this is a sample of, the kind of stuff that I've been examining. And there's all kinds of other places where things that are taught as just, truth, gospel truth about the end times are patently false and can be proved to be untrue. So what's happened is people have gotten their end time eschatology, their study of end time events, primarily from like Matthew 24 and the writings of Paul, really ignoring the book of Revelation. And by the way, if you want to understand Revelation, you have to care about everybody that's in the book. You can't just be looking for when are you going to be raptured. You have to care about who are the martyrs, who's the 144,000, who's the harlot anyway, and why, Why does she have all this airtime in the book of Revelation and the beast only gets a little bit? So I really just want to challenge people. You know, I may sound like I'm a heretic, or I'm so unconventional that I must be wrong, but I've looked at this stuff and I've had to unlearn so many things that when I first started this channel, I believed with all my heart, okay? But most of those things were the party line. I had to undo those and unlearn those. But again, I just want to reiterate, these are my personal Bible studies that I'm putting out there. This is because I wanted to know, and I thought the information was pretty compelling, and so I thought I'd like to share it. And you guys can take it or leave it. You don't have to agree with me, but I hope you will consider the things I'm saying. All right, so I'm going to be doing another video on what are we going to be doing around the time that we're glorified. And my personal opinion, this is my opinion, is that the glorification and rapture of believers will happen over the Feast of Tabernacles, with the rapture actually happening on the eighth day after the 7-day Feast of Tabernacles. I've done a lot of videos on why I think that's the case, and you can read more about that in my Timeline Templates book, where I have a lot of scripture to back up why I think that. I think there's more evidence for a tabernacles rapture than there is for really any other feast day. Hope you'll take a look at that. So the next video I do is going to be on what are we going to be doing during those 7 days while we're on the earth, before we've been caught up to God and to his throne. We'll see you on the next video. Until then, I pray you'll have a very, very blessed day.